Respect, Lance Leipold. Gabe DeArmond here with PM in the AM, and I know that crediting the head football coach at the University of Kansas is the wrong way to start off a daily video segment geared toward appealing to fans of the Missouri Tigers. But this morning, on Wednesday, July 9th, at Big 12 Media Days, Lance Leipold said the following, this according to a tweet from Kevin Flaherty from KC Sports Network. Quote, rivalry games are what makes college football so special, and I didn't realize when I first got to Lawrence that the Kansas-Missouri game is more of a rivalry than Kansas State. There he goes on to talk about Kansas State and all that, but that is the pertinent part of the quote here for my purposes. And so refreshing to hear someone at Kansas say that after years and years of Bill Self's, they're not our rival because they're not in our conference. Some things transcend, what league you play in college sports. Now, I do want to say, I don't think the Mizzou-Kansas rivalry is quite the same to an 18-year-old today as it was when I was 18 or when a good majority of those of you watching were 18. It's different. It's changed. But there are still enough of us walking the face of this earth and are going to be for, knock on wood, 40, 50, 60 more years that know what it was and know how it started, that we know what this matchup means. And it means far more than a football game or a basketball game or two football games or whatever it might be. Scott Docterman from The Athletic a couple days ago put out a list of the 100 best rivalries in college football. Kansas, Missouri, I believe, was number 19 on that list. Look, you can argue it should be a little higher or lower. I don't really care, but for a game that has not been played in 14 seasons between two teams that historically, at least one of them is not very good, and quite often both of them were not very good, that is awfully high on a list of the top 100 college football rivalries in the country. But I would argue it is also fairly deserved. I'm not going to go into a lesson on the background of this rivalry. But as I've always said, I respect Duke, Carolina. I respect Michigan, Ohio State. I respect Auburn, Alabama, all the other great sports rivalries in this country. To my knowledge, none of those started over legitimate bloodshed. One town was not burned down by people from the other state. This one is different. And when you grow up in the state of Missouri or the state of Kansas, especially when you grow up in Kansas City, like I did, it's even a little bit more different. That game returns on the football field. As you guys all know, week 2 of the football season, I believe the actual date is September 6th here in Columbia. We'll be back in Lawrence next season. But I just, it's not the most important game on Missouri's schedule. Like I think South Carolina is the game that turns this season. I think Alabama is the statement. I think Oklahoma is the quote unquote rivalry game. And Oklahoma fans will take offense to that because I understand the historic record and that you won't view it as a rivalry, and that's fine. But the quote unquote rivalry game that has more to do with how good Missouri might be this season and all that. But there is no question that a significant number of people on both sides of this thing have week 2 at Faurot Field circled on the calendar. And it was refreshing to see what Lance Leipold said. Now, it's going to make the purple folks mad. But as I found out over the last few years, frankly, they get mad at a lot of things. They feel quite disrespected many times. So me doing it on YouTube is not going to, add any measurable fuel to the fire. But But credit Lance Leipold. Yes, Mizzou, Kansas is bigger than Kansas, Kansas State. Still, even though they play every year and Mizzou, Kansas haven't played since 2011, and we don't know how many times they'll play, all that, it's bigger because it is different. And, I like having a guy that will admit that. And Eli Drinkwitz, I think, he's kind of, intimated it, but I think he will admit that in the next 2 months. He takes the stage at SEC Media Days, I believe, in 8 days, but then leading up to the season, he will not shy away from what this game means. Missouri can't lose this game. Can't lose this game. First of all, if you lose it, your season's not going to be what you think it is. Second of all, if your program is what you think it is, like, you can't lose to that team in week 2 in this sport. More so, not the game that's going to determine the season, not the swing game, but the game clearly with the most pressure on it, I think, for the 2025 Missouri Tigers. So appreciate you hanging out here with me, talking a little bit of the football border war on a Wednesday morning. I want you to check out everything that's on the site, or on the channel, and on the site for that matter. Yesterday, we talked about Missouri's recruitment of 5-star basketball player Jason Crow. Monday night, we had Cousin Shane from That SEC podcast on State of the Tigers, our live show. We're picking up steam, gaining toward media days, toward the football season. We're going to be here every weekday morning with PM in the AM, every Monday with State of the Tigers and various stuff throughout the rest of the week on the site. Hey guys, it's getting busy. It's getting more crowded on the message board. We want you to come hang out. 30% off your first year, $1 for your first month at powermizzou.com. And this is the time to join. Before I go to Peach Jam, before Gerard Hamilton goes to SEC Media Days, and before we get really busy here in the next few days. We will talk to you next time.